Awakening is your destiny. If you're watching videos like this, even if you're very early on in the process and just started to get interested in it, or whether you've been seeking for decades, it is because it is your time. Or you could think of it as your time is up. Your time is up of being the person, of being a soul that incarnates over and over again, experiencing different characters. That part of your journey is coming to an end. And a new journey is either beginning or some way through the process of taking place. And so the first part of the journey, the soul's journey, is all about incarnating and reincarnating and experiencing all these wonderful things to do with being in form and learning a lot of lessons and evolving on a soul level throughout the process. And then we get to a point, a halfway point, you could think of it that way, where we then cross into a very different part of the soul's journey. And then this part is all about returning home to ourselves, remembering who we are. We call it going through an awakening. And this happens when it is destined to happen. It is divine timing when we cross this threshold. As we're getting closer to this threshold, we'll already be starting to get interested in awakening and perhaps watching videos like this. We may not have started the process yet. We may not be putting down any identity and there's no changes going on in our life, but we start to form an interest in awakening. We start to want to learn about it and read about it and follow the master's teachings and watch YouTube videos about it and all of that. And this is because we're getting a calling. We are getting a very intuitive, very deep calling to start to return home to ourselves. The bell is ringing within us. And so it's starting to draw this first part of our soul's journey, which could have been thousands of lifetimes. It was a very long time, a very involved journey that's coming to a beautiful closure through the beginning of seeking. And you could say you've crossed this threshold when you officially start awakening, which in my eyes is when you have an identity shift and some identity drops away, whether it's a little fraction or a big chunk, and then you're officially in the awakening stage. And that's the return home journey of the soul's journey, the second half. And so leading up to this, we can very much have this longing, this homesickness, this longing to return home. We can start to get tired of the story. We can feel like we're pretending, being fake, just living a normal life, trying to live the way that others live starts to feel inauthentic. It starts to feel like something's wrong. And these are all indicators we're closing off on that first half. We're coming to the end of that and we're being called to cross this threshold where we will complete the return journey home, and a lot will happen during that time. But first of all, we need to cross this threshold, and this will happen as divine timing and is your destiny to have this. So if you're coming close to what you think might be this calling where you're feeling like you want to commit more to awakening, you're committing more to your spiritual practice, you're really wanting to go for it more. It might be because you're really coming upon this crossing where you'll enter the second half of the soul's journey, where you will remember who you are. And so as we near this, we can grow really tired of the story of who we are and really be wanting to do anything to start to put that down. We can become bored of our character story, be bored of the story of ourselves. It can show up as boredom or frustration or great suffering, even is quite common. And whatever it is that gets us there, that is predetermined and our destiny for that to happen, those events, all of that has lined up to help us to cross over this threshold to get us on the pathway of an authentic awakening. So just to get to that stage where we cross that is very difficult in itself and a very long journey to go, really what is a pre-awakening phase as we're getting closer to actually starting to let go of identity and truly having an awakening where identity is letting go and your life is changing and you're changing. And then when that's happening, you can tell that you've officially changed. Something's changed, something's dropped away, and you're never the same from that point onward. Then the cycle completes, and it's really the second half of the soul's journey, and that's all about awakening. So it's not to say that you can't learn other things and grow and evolve. That will always continue to happen regardless of awakening and where you're at on that path. As long as you're informed, there will be some type of evolution like there is with all species. But what will happen is the focus will become more and more turned on what is true, what is reality, who am I, until the process is absolutely completed, which I've talked about the different stages before, but there's 3 permanent shifts that happen. There's the mind awakening, where you realize the I am, so you realize I am nothingness, I am emptiness, and that's a permanent shift where the mind goes silent and you're unable to attach to thought anymore. And the egoic tendencies take a backseat. And then you're living from awareness, the I am. Then the second shift is the heart awakening, the permanent heart awakening into unity consciousness, where you perceive oneness, you perceive yourself from that moment onward. And in that permanent shift, you see that you are everything and that everything is made of this wonderful emptiness, this nothingness that the mind perceives. And so you know yourself as I am that. And then there's one final shift that happens once you've completed the unity phase, and perhaps after many years and decades. And it doesn't happen for everyone in that one life, but is everyone's destiny in the end to get to the final shift where the self-reflective function switches off and you can no longer self-reflect. And that's the final shift. And then awakening is officially over. Then you'll just keep evolving on a human level and learning and growing in that way, but there'll be no more awakening. And you could say that cycle has completely finished when that shift has happened. And so there'll be no more reincarnation. There's nothing left to reincarnate. All the karma from the first half of the cycle has been sorted out in the second half throughout the awakening. There's no more ego left. There's nothing left to reincarnate. And so the cycle is completed. And that's the end of that soul's journey. So there's no more soul. In a sense, it's not needed anymore. And so then you just live out the life in that body, and that's the end of that journey. So to get to that whole second half, that can take many lifetimes. It doesn't have to, but it's just very common. We do want to take our time with that. And if we're not suffering too badly, we're quite happy to walk through that process over a large number of years. It doesn't have to be that long. You can actually get through it faster. And that will happen again if that is your destiny to do it in that way. And so you don't need to worry about the speed that it's going, how far you're going to get in the cycle, any of that, because it doesn't actually matter. It's because you will get as far as you're meant to, as what is predetermined in that life. Then it'll carry over and you'll complete the process in the next life if you need to. There's no benefit as far as achievement. It's not like if you get to the very end, then you get a prize or you achieve something that will change anything in your life. I think we have these unconscious ideas that we need to get to the end of it just because that's what we're used to with our conditioning. When we're trying to achieve something, we get to the end of a degree that we're doing, and then that's when we're going to be able to get the job that we want. It's sort of conditioned into us to try to achieve the ending of something to get a reward. And this is not the same. We have deeper and deeper levels of happiness and peace as we go through this return journey home. The unitive phase itself that I'm in, where you're perceiving oneness as an absolutely wonderful phase where you are very happy and peaceful and living in harmony with life, and there's no more resistance anymore. So there's no more wanting anymore from that point. So even though awakening hasn't completed the final stage of the self-reflective function ending, there's no resistance to awakening, there's no resistance to life anymore. You're just flowing with it, and you don't mind anymore whether it's completed or not, or that you have to reincarnate or not. All of that angst about, I don't want to have to come here again. I don't want to be in form. I don't want to be in this life. All the things that happened on this return journey home that made you suffer, you're not fighting against that anymore. So you don't mind. You don't mind if you have to reincarnate, if you are going to be living in a different body, in a different life, if you, whatever the shape of the world is going to be in the future life, all the anxiety you had about that previously is resolved through the awakening process. And so that is helpful to know as well, that not only is it predetermined and that you will wake up when you are supposed to, and each shift will happen as it is predetermined and is your destiny, although you still need to work at it and do practices and put some effort in and all of that. They will happen when they're meant to happen. And it is still nice to know that you don't need to get to the end to be happy. The happiness comes, I would say, even prior to the mind awakening, that first permanent shift. You start to become a lot happier prior to that shift. And that's actually an indicator that you're getting closer, because you've healed so much to get to that point and you're a really healthy, functioning human at that stage. And so you're happy on a relative level, you're highly functioning, and there is a lot of happiness that can be gained from there. So you don't need to worry that I've got to get all the way to this very end of the cycle to be happy. That's not true at all. There's a lot of happiness that comes even prior to the first shift that happens. And then there's a continual deepening into the happiness that is innate within our being, which is just because of a lack of resistance. That's why the happiness is felt. It's causeless happiness because you're not fighting against anything anymore. That deepens as you deepen through this journey. And so you get to experience many different types of happiness and peace and fulfillment and all of these things that you're craving. You get to feel like to return home to yourself, and that feeling, any of that sense of lack is gone, the angst is gone, there's no more worry, no more fear. So many things are resolved during this very long and very intense and detailed second half of the soul's journey, which takes you back all the way to the end, which is really the beginning. The cycle is complete for that soul's journey.